I'm not afraid of people being upset with me. You know, um, when I'm doing my work, I would expect it. You know.
Well, what is this work then that is so upsetting?
Well, I'm primarily still doing my thing on the farm with people coming out of prison, but I'm going to have to stop that soon. I'm too out of touch. Yeah.
With the prison psychology, or out of touch in what direction?
Well, I suppose how social media has affected young men and how this overlays with what these young men are going through and how it changes it a little bit. And I've been kind of, spent the year looking and prompting other people to continue or do it in their own way. Take the principle of what I was doing, which is showing them that there's a way out, a different way, and letting other people work with it, you know. So there's a couple of young guys now, they've got deep into reading philosophy, something that I didn't do a lot of. I just do it in practice. And this has given them good ideas, and I've been encouraging them to kind of take over for me. And then it's almost like I have been feeling something that was coming, and then I got it in spades when I hurt myself. I ripped ligaments in my knee, which is a frustratingly long healing time, just before Christmas, doing something that I normally do.
Oh, okay.
I've done it a few times before, which is kind of push my body way past its limit as a demonstration. And this time it was like, have you not been paying attention? You've got gray hair. So welcome to midlife. You can't do that anymore. You know, it was what my body just said. And luckily, I tore my cruciate ligament, and luckily it didn't completely tear all the way through. Otherwise, that would be open knee surgery and a year of recovery and all that. But as it stands, I was on crutches for a month with a knee brace, and now I'm walking. But like, if I put my foot anywhere other than straight, like, I feel it.
Okay.
Big time.
And how is your life set up for you to be on crutches? Is that possible? Like, did you have to make major adjustments?
I just bang around on my crutches with a knee brace, and I have a camping chair that I carry with a strap. I just carry on, you know, try not to take painkillers so that the pain tells me to sit down, you know, and then I sit down. That was the doctor's instructions. You're not going to walk this off. Like, if you feel pain, you're doing damage. You have to do no damage for long enough for the body to heal. And it's frustrating. But how I did it was doing an exercise, a really intense exercise, trying to get through to one guy in particular. And like, that's it. I can't do it. I can't do that anymore. Somebody else has to do that now. Right. I've shown it to 5 or 6 guys in different ways. Right. And like, yeah, I'm raw at the moment from it. I'm just like the healing on my leg and the stress of not being able to do things, and the challenge of just being patient, getting a bit flabby because I'm not moving, you know, having to adjust my diet and eat less so I don't blow up. And like, all of these things now are not in, you know, I prefer to be able to smash something. This is a test of a different side of my character, and I just have to accept the challenge for healing.
What were you trying to get through to these men?
This is gonna, if I say it in pieces, it's going to sound mental, so I'll just start at the beginning. This guy is very like me. We have the same demons, if you will, and he was disrupting the group, and I couldn't. I had a group of 8. They're all working on the farm, and he can go fuck himself if he doesn't like me talking about it. But it's too good an example. He was refusing the last piece of every lesson, right, and not letting me in, and being disruptive then with the other men, right, and this was. I think it's that he feels I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing because I don't understand, you know, and that I'm talking about a period that's now past and a world that they're not living in, you know, when I speak about what they've went through, and like the similarity is not close enough. So he couldn't open, but he was the key to the rest of them. So like he had to be broken open. Right? And so I've been watching this tree for ages, looking for the right time. And there's a tree and it's ash, and it's got a load of burls, which are scarring around the part of the tree that you'd want to cut it down, where you'd want to cut it if you wanted to cut it down. And you'd wreck your chainsaw trying to do it with a chainsaw, right? You might, okay, you could do it in pieces or whatever. Maybe wreck your chainsaw is an exaggeration, but you wouldn't do it unless you had to cut through the burls. And what the burls are, it's metaphorical for him and me. The burls are scars from damage the tree took when it was very young. And as the tree has grown older, these burls have gotten thicker and tighter, and they create this impossible web of the grain of the wood. Right? You just can't cut through it. Right? But it makes the tree stronger. Right? And so I took him for the day, and we were going to cut through the burls and chop this tree down using only axes, which is just stupid. Like, it's almost impossible, right? You certainly can't do it. So the two of us were going to attempt it. And it's a stupid exercise. So we start chopping away. And the whole point is to get into the point of exhaustion, right? So you just can't pick the axe up and get the axe to stick into the tree anymore, because you've got to give it like full power just to get the axe to make a dent in the tree. So we're standing on either side of the tree, taking it in turns to beat the axe into the tree, getting almost nowhere. We get about a quarter of the way into how far you need to make the tree fall, and stop for lunch. And that's when I kind of start talking to him about what happened to me when I was younger and my experiences, but I leave out the details. I stick to the principle, and I start trying to tie what I know about him into me at the level of principle, the things that happened to us in prisons and things that would have happened to us as children. And I get the usual type reaction. And then as we start back up again, chopping into this tree, it looks fruitless and pointless to him. Right? Why are we doing this? And that's when I turn it into a challenge. I said, you will give up before I will. 100% guaranteed. Because you haven't resolved all of these things that has happened. And I have. Right? And this gets him going, gives him an extra spurt. And eventually, he just has to stop. He can't pick the axe up. And if he tries to hit the tree with the axe, it just goes clunk. It doesn't make clean enough contact to make a dent in the tree. And then when he can't make any progress at all, right, that's when he stops. Now, I have an advantage is I do that an awful lot. So, like, even though he's bigger and stronger than I am, and he's younger, I actually have a muscle set that's well developed for that one particular task. But I also push myself to the point of exhaustion. And then I start to talk again. Now, we've got a completely different set of hormones in our body because of the exercise we're doing. So the way that I start speaking about it starts to come out in a very different frame, right? There's no more moral judgment on it, right? Because I'm feeling different, right? I don't even frame it as right or wrong anymore, right? And I can't even remember exactly how I said it and how I was speaking.
Right? But what were you saying? What were you trying to communicate?
So I talked to him about like being the 7-year-old and terrified and don't know up from down, because love and violence come from the same source, right? And I talked to him about being 12 and realizing the levels of manipulation going on around you, the psychological warfare that's the background to the violence that's happening within families and communities of people, and how that makes you feel as a child. And these are the sources of anger, right, that can be tapped into. And so I would stop, and you have to have a razor sharp axe. So I had to keep stopping every half an hour to sharpen the axe. And I'd kneel down and I'd give him a story from my life, right? That's really painful. It really hurts. And it brings up the monster, right? The one that doesn't care, the one that's not safe to be in the room with, you know? And then I focus that into breaking through the burls, his burls, the burls on the tree, right? And I show him how that this is a part of you, it's an energy, and you can't just hold it down, right? You can bring it up, and it doesn't have to explode like a volcano. It can be focused like a laser, and it be focused in the right way, at the right time, in the right place. It's incredibly powerful. And I'm able to push my body then into the infinite until something breaks, right? Hoping the tree breaks first, right? And it sounds fucking crazy because other people don't have this problem, right? Somebody has to translate that into what it is to be an artist and have no inspiration. You know, I don't know what it looks like for other people. I just know what it looks like for me and him and the other people that I've met where this is our problem, right? And so I'm telling him a story about how I felt when I'm 9 and the powerlessness in it and how I harnessed that energy that got stored up, all that negative energy that's stored up, and I pointed it at all the people that didn't deserve it. Right? And this created guilt and shame, and these are powerful emotions. And then I drive that axe into that tree like I am striking down all that is wrong in the world. And then I do it again, and then I do it again, and you know, until that energy runs out, and then I'll stop, and I'll sharpen the axe, and I'll bring something else back up, right? And it ends with us screaming at each other. It goes beyond words. There's no more talking. You know,
what's coming from him? What are you tapping?
He's sitting there and crying.
Yeah.
He can't look. He's walked off and come back again.
Yeah.
You know, he can't. He picks the axe up and has another go, but his arms are jelly. He hasn't got the hang of it. He tries to do what I'm doing. You know, he doesn't know what to make of it. At one point, the two of us had a hold of each other, just screaming at each other. You know, and I push him away and tell him, sit the fuck down. We're not finished. The tree's still there. The burls haven't broken. You're not there. I'm not there. We've more to do. Sit the fuck down. And then I pick it up, you know, and then I keep beating the tree. And eventually the tree goes, and it's run. Because the tree could go in any direction.
Oh, shit.
Especially when, you know, with all those burls in it, and there could be flying splinters, you know. There's a bit of a trick to it. I mean, you don't just run in any direction and hope for the best. You know? I'm like, follow me. You know, you get, you know, a second and a half to take a guess at the best direction, and you get used to which way to run. You know, but that's also part of it, right? So the two of us have dove for cover because of the flying splinters in the right direction, and it's like it's over because the tree is down. And that is one thing that your body gives you. It's a burst of hormones related to the tree having actually fallen over. The impossible has been done, right? We shouldn't be able to do that. We shouldn't. Like, I mean, I fucked myself up doing it. Like, I was swollen. My wife was crying, telling me, fucking never do this again, you fucking idiot. You know, my hands are ripped to bits, you know. But he's a new man. You want to see him now organizing the other guys.
How did he process that?
He felt understood. He felt loved. He felt not alone.
Okay.
He felt that I reached into the darkness and I grabbed him and I pulled him and I said, fucking this way.
Yeah, yeah. And why him? Why is he the keystone of that group?
Because he's more powerful than the rest. He's more powerful than the rest. He's smarter. He's intuitive. Like, you know, he understands things the first time I say it. Right? He is going to be a force. He's 27. He already is a force. He's fucking caused awful damage.
Okay. You know? Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you could change things, man. Like, I don't have the words for this stuff. Right?
Okay.
Like, I can't write that in a book. Right? It can be entertainment for other people. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it looks ridiculous. You know?
Well, how did you develop it? Where did these ideas come from? Just pure trial and error? Just pure empirical, intuitive mixture of going for it?
The first time I opened myself to a young man to show him that I was like him, right, was more about me than him, you know? Even this exercise that I did, I fucking love that, right? The idea that I get to be an animal and do some good is just like, you know? Like, not like you free yourself. It's like it's back to fucking Eden. It's unbit the apple, returned to the previous state, and really just let it flow. And it's like I've never felt any more connected with anybody else than I do when I'm doing that. You know, it's like the barriers between the physical self vanish. You know. Again, it's just something you like. It's like trying to explain magic mushrooms to somebody. It's like, fucking go take a fistful. Fucking come back and talk to me afterwards. Be asking me to describe a trip to you. It's like, bah. Now imagine that as a picture. You know, it's like people have to just find a way. You were speaking. I see you put up a clip the other day of you were talking with some guys. And one of them came up with the term hyper reality, and he was explaining how he got from a strawberry to a slushy or a slurp or something. Right. It's like on that scale of reality, extended reality, blah blah blah. Right. If you're walking that way to get to hyper reality, if you go back to reality and go the other way, there is more. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right.
And that more is, I guess we can use stories and experiences to express that, but it's not an abstraction. It's more in the intuitive, the emotional, the hormonal, the physical.
Yeah, I think this is also a problem when it comes to normal heterosexual relationships. You know, we've put everything into words that's supposed to mean something. When things need to be felt, you know. So as I'm speaking to, so I'm finishing up with the prison-y thing. I'm trying to finish out a way. I think I might just need to drop it and make somebody else pick it up rather than try to fade into someone else. Do you know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how this is going to work, but before COVID, I tried to organize a hiking group, multi-generational, with the younger side of it being men that have just had children recently. And we all get talking. And just before COVID really put the nail in the coffin, I was under attack for giving young fellas bad ideas. You know?
Ooh, bad ideas.
Bad ideas. I thought they were great ideas.
Yeah,
you know?
From what direction are they bad? What ideas are they, and who thinks they're bad? And why do you think they're good?
In a nutshell, I told a young guy to go home and, you know, really plan out his life and take control and take responsibility and stop playing games and stop leaving it to other people. Stop listening to what your mother wants you to do. Stop listening to what your wife wants you to do. Decide for yourself. Trust your own moral compass. Do the right thing and get on with the first task on the list of doing the right thing. right? And yeah, so the people that were manipulating him and controlling him because they didn't trust that he was competent to do such a thing, obviously that upset their control, you know?
Yeah.
So they vented that at me. Don't you be putting these toxic ideas in his head like he can decide for himself. He's an idiot. Don't you realize this? We can't leave him in control. It was like, well, maybe he's not an idiot. You know, he's a fucking dad now. He knew how to do that. You know?
Yeah.
And so that was the end of that. And so I've picked that up recently.
So in the work with prisoners, there's one set of, I guess, devices and directions, just like a pedagogy, like a lesson plan, kind of a loose assimilation of ideas, and then you just work with the guys and figure out how to do it. But moving from the prison population or the ex-con population to, I guess, normie dads, is this the next market? What is it that you're drawing upon, and what are the methods that you see to do?
So I got out and about into just to see what was on, because I think, like, proper work, like if men want to do something, it's the men to the left of you and to the right of you that you help, right? The people that live around you, right? The idea of making a YouTube channel and trying to say something which is both useful and suits everybody, I don't think you can do it, right? Go read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. Understand this was his diary of him talking to himself. If you want something really general, but it's on you to work out how to apply that to your life. Then, and it can be too easy just to close it and turn it off. If you really want to help somebody, go and see them. Go and see them and talk to them regularly, right? And you find out how they are in different moods, and you find out over time how they're handling situations in real time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what, I considered doing a YouTube channel, like a reaction channel, giving my thoughts on what other people are doing or something like that. But I think that that's too wide a net, and that if I want to have an impact and help, then that's where to help, And it's like, that's what you do. Like, I've made myself financially secure. I don't really have anything to worry about. It just take many, many, many problems in a row. So whatever. And like, what else am I going to do with my time? Buy a Bugatti, drive around and look cool. So This is what I want to do instead.
Okay.
Right. With my extras.
Yeah.
And so, I just bought myself a load of time. I didn't sell anything or pay for anything. I just bought time for myself. And reached out I want to get multi-generational men together, preferably the father with the son, and the son has got a young child. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
And let's talk about how we're going to get that kid into the future without getting involved in any of the bollocks that's going on, right? None of the gangs and drugs stuff. I've kind of got that covered. I can turn them off that idea. No problem.
How would you do that?
Oh, I'd take him on a tour of all the fucked up people. Here, meet all the people that did that. Look what they look like now. That's going to be very easy. But that's not an appeal. These are normal people, So their problem is porn, addiction, not being employed, getting gainful employment, and basic enough stuff, really. But there's problems that are general to all of them that I can maybe speak about rather than picking on any one of them, and it's very similar to the first one. So, like, I put up a tweet describing that last Saturday I had the pleasure of seven of the grandparents of the group. Now, I only organize the group. I don't lead it. It's not like I'm in charge. I'm only kind of pushing conversation here and there and using what I've got to facilitate, the forest or the farm or whatever. So, again, the issue is I'm giving bad ideas. It's like, what's the bad idea?
What are the bad ideas? What are these bad ideas?
Um, it seems to be all around kind of telling them take control, but that they feel that they're incompetent. It's the same thing, really. And yeah, they're incompetent because they haven't fucking done anything. It's like, how do you get competent? You do shit,
Yeah.
You make mistakes, you figure it out, you get humbled, you know.
Or guided.
Yeah. But even in the guidance, I mean, like, you still actually have to let them do it, You can't.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
them.
internal guidance, or you just kind of find your way. Like, there is guidance when you put yourself in motion. I had a very long conversation a couple days ago with somebody who is very stuck, and after listening to them describe how stuck they were and how the world is just falling to crap, I kind of snapped, because I'm just like, do something. Put yourself into motion. You can't be guided. You can't find your path if you're not in motion. If you're sitting in the mud, you can't get any help, right? You have to put yourself out there. You have to bring yourself alive. You have to do that. And then once you're engaged with life, you don't know what you're capable of. You don't know what you're going to become competent in. But of course, you're not competent now, other than just sitting down, because that's all you're doing. So,
Yeah.
So you just got to go. You have to go. You have to move.
So
one pattern that you're saying is that when you are bringing, I guess, not just responsibility, but you're telling men specifically to take control, take charge, lead. Yeah. And that disrupts the social fabric in some way, or at least it brings up tensions in the social fabric.
Because of their incompetence or perceived incompetence.
Yeah.
There's people managing them. The people around them are managing. They're not out on their own. Their parents and their girlfriend or their sisters and brothers So this like when I speak to the older men in the group, and again, they're not going to like me saying this stuff, but whatever. Maybe this is how we disseminate information into the general so that other people can work with it. The problem is they did the same thing, right? But their women were highly competent, right? So they all had competent wives who worked and had careers of some description or another. Like, not that the men didn't work, but the men were never in control, right? Their wives were in control, and they did what their wives wanted. They set up the family the way the wife wanted, and they set it all up. The problem in that is that they weren't interactive enough with their sons. They weren't actually active enough in the teaching, right? And so it's like your son has to fall off his bike. There's certain things that has to happen to complete him so that he's competent as an adult in a general sense. Like, it has to be shown that, like, the point at which you want to give up doing something that you don't want to do, that's the point you have to pass. Everything up to that point is easy. You have to do the hard bit. You have to do the bit you don't want to do to get what you want. But quite often it was just a case of they're fed, they're entertained, they go to school. If they get good school grades and they don't cause any problems, that's considered success.
Yeah.
Yep.
You did your job. Yeah.
And I said to them, my kids are going to fucking eat your kids alive. In the competition of life, workplace, my son's going to take your son's girlfriend. My son's going to get the promotion and your son isn't. Right? It's like, these are the mechanics of life,
Mm-hmm.
Like, my daughter isn't going to take shit. If a man raises his hand to my daughter, she's going to take the action herself. She doesn't feel like she's a participant in life. She's an active agent.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, all three of them. Like, they don't need a man, so they're going to choose a man that they want. right? What are your daughters going to do? Like, do you know? Did you think about it? It was like, no, they didn't, right? The mother made everything safe because the mothers are in their 50s and 60s and whatever. And maybe they weren't as safe when they were younger, right? So they did what mothers do, right? And they built a fortification around their children. Wonderful. But like, and then they kick them out of the fort, finished with you.
Huh.
And then they get some woman pregnant without even thinking about it. It was an accident or fucking whatever. The circumstances are irrelevant. And they're now there's this, what's he going to do? And so what are the grandparents going to do? Do the same to the grandkids? And it's like, you lot are even fucking worse than the parents that were beating their kids.
That's a controversial statement.
You made your children useless.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
At least, I got both ends of it, right? So I got violence with anger and frustration, which was all weakness. It was just looking for someone to fucking hurt because they were hurt, right? And I've reconciled all of that. I also got it to make me hard on purpose, right? So that I can handle a hard life because that's what was expected, right? And it was expressed to me what was happening, right? And it fucking worked, It was like when you fear the source of love in your life, you really don't fear anything else. That works,
Well, yeah, it works, but then you have to do all the cleanup later on.
Yeah, well, it's imbalanced, obviously, I mean, yeah. I was... I'm not recommending it. I'm not recommending you do it that way. The problem is that you have to find the baby and bring it back since we just threw out the whole bathroom. Right? And that is causing a problem. Having thrown out the entire bathroom is causing a problem. Right? So the baby in the bathwater is to somehow make or grow the children, train the children in a way that they feel that they have control, that they have tools that they can use, that they're not a victim of circumstance, and right. I mean, I can only talk about how I did it, but I promised that I wouldn't speak directly about my own family.
Okay, yeah, but how do you reach? So you told a very compelling story about reaching this young ex-con, this 27-year-old man. Through that tree and the burrs and the ash and the falling of the tree. How do you reach these grandparents? This is a different set. This is a different set of normies that you're dealing with. You can't push them, or maybe you do. Do you have to push them to the limit? How do you get through to them? How do you explain it on a visceral level? Yeah, you can tell them all this wise advice and say that they're creating these problems that now they're dealing with, but how do you really get it through to them? What their children need, what life demands of people.
So where we left it last was me saying that they disagreed with how their parents parented and they tried to make a change, right? All of the men disagreed with how their father treated their mother. They were going to treat their wife way better than that, right? Why would you expect your own children not to make the same assessment and go, you made mistakes, so I'm going to try to do better than you did, Yeah. Obviously, treating mom with respect and everything like that was a great example, rather than "shut up, bitch," or whatever the grandparents witnessed of their own parents. But let's build on that. Let's make that more, right? Okay. And what tends to happen with those couples that I've been able to detect from the men is that the women were very strong and competent, and as they got older, they weakened and they slowed down, and they wanted the man to pick up pace, but like he'd never made. He didn't, you're asking somebody to do something they've never done all their life, right? And as strong women age, they tend to look for stronger men. They want their partners to become stronger as they weaken, and it doesn't seem to happen. It doesn't work, And and like they're all unhappy in their relationships and marriages and stuff like that as well, as are the women, and everybody's unhappy. It's not working, right? So I'm talking to the young men and I'm saying, well, what do you think went wrong, right? And what can you do different in your relationship and with your children, and how can we push it forward? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I was like, do you think you all lack self-discipline and the ability to make yourself do stuff you don't want to do to get results that you do want? So you can turn a dream into a reality, as long as you dream of something that's possible.
Yeah.
You know? And they're like, Right. And I'm like, how many of you get up at 4:30 in the morning to get rid of the fat fucking belly you've got? And they're like, what do you mean 4:30?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
And it was like, to get anything that's worth having, you have to drag yourself through the fucking mud, right? And it was like, not even trying. So nobody showed you how to try hard. You've never been made try hard to get anything, because what you wanted always came easy. Right?
So the task.
How are you going to do that with your kids? Are you going to make a change to how your parents parented you when you parent your kids? And what comes out is there's no way that they get support for that. So in their day-to-day life, they're being told what to do by everybody. So if they want to make a change, and it's unapproved change, then this comes back to me. And I'm telling them, when you want to make a change and the people around you resist it, at some point, you just have to say, I've made the decision, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I've listened to everybody. Thank you for your thoughts. Now fuck off and let me do it. My child, I'm the dad. This is my partner. Me and my partner are going to discuss it and we're going to agree. And I feel I have a compelling argument. This is how I'm going to do it, and it's got nothing to do with you. And you see, in the relationship then between him and the woman, he may get his own way, but it's the mothers and the fathers interfering that's making it a vote, or some shit,
some sort of
whatever, however he's playing out.
Yeah.
And they're all living variations of that with different details in different ways.
So if I'm going to venture a story or a heuristic, just maybe a rule of thumb that is can be generalized, that the child who's broken is hardened, right? Mm-hmm. Like those burrs, and society can't deal with that hardened person. They become antisocial. They end up committing violence and get put in prison. And then what you found that you can do to help them, and what you've done with your own self, is to soften the hard man, right? To soften, to break through, and then to put that hardness in the right place, but also access the softness so that they can be brought back into society. Mm-hmm. So that they can engage with other people. Now what you're doing is trying to get the soft men who are protected in society, who are kept in society and kept soft by society, because society can trust the momentum of the soft man. And for him to get hardened, he has to take on a new relationship to society where he's no longer, where he becomes the leader. He becomes a king or a duke, or becomes like somebody with authority. In some respect, even over his own life, right? You're saying, make a choice, do it. Like he's a ruler. So he has to organize society around him, and society will resist that because they want the soft man. So you have to harden the soft man. And then what you're doing now is disrupting society. Of course, society is going to be upset with that because, go back out with the hard men and bring them back home. Don't take our men away from us, right?
I love all my men, I see the noodly armed fat kids that with no concentration, my heart fucking breaks, like fucking set up for failure,
Just like noodly armed fat kids, like
noodly armed.
Oh,
fat
noodly.
Kids.
Okay, yeah. All right. I thought there's a gun range where all the fatties go.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you saw a kid whose face was all burned because his father threw a kettle of boiling water at him, you'd know what you were looking at, right? Why, when you see an obese kid who struggles with like stairs when he should be like jumping off fucking cliffs or something, like, can you not see that? Can you not see that as abuse? Like, can you not see how handicapped these people are? Huh?
Yeah.
It's fucking sad. And I love them too, do you know?
Well, so when working with the soft set of men, what are some of the things like self-discipline, pushing yourself a little hard? What are the exercises and stuff? You brought up porn, which is kind of interesting because I just had a conversation with a feminist and a porn star, I guess, last week where they were arguing. They were arguing about it from their points of view.
You're a brave man.
It was very interesting. I don't think it was actually that productive, but it was kind of interesting to bring that up. But from a man's point of view, from your point of view, what does that do to a man? What is the exposure to that? Is that a softening or a hardening? Right? Is that what does that do? And how do you interact with if you see it as a bad thing, how to reorient men to what it's doing to them?
Men are easy, man. You just tell them that's bad. Haram.
Okay.
Okay, it's a sin. That's a sin. Blasphemy. Right. Okay. And then they're like, and they feel guilty. It was like, you know the way you feel guilty about if anybody got their hands on your search history? Yeah. It was like, that's a guiding light, man. You're looking at something you shouldn't be looking at, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
And it was like, when it comes to masturbating, don't masturbate to somebody else having sex. Use your imagination, you know. Make yourself the hero in that story.
What's the argument there?
Well, you're jacking off to somebody else having sex, you know. I mean, like your imagination can make you part of the story, you know. Like you're simulating sex. Why would you simulate somebody else having sex? Simulate yourself having sex. You've got a fucking imagination. Use it. You know, like I don't know. There's probably words for it, but like it's like you're like the idea of like why you're looking at somebody else's dick. It's massive compared to yours, and you know, like having sex in unnatural positions. Like I mean, people don't have sex like that, you know, and it like again hyper reality. Thing that your friend was saying. Like, I mean, it's so abstracted from sex. Don't connect your sex drive to that. It's like fucking plug your dick into a computer. Don't keep it use your imagination. Pick girls that you know that you like, or fucking a montage of them, or somebody on TV or whatever, and make yourself the hero of that fucking story in your head. And then you know you have to masturbate to keep your hormones in check. You know, especially as a young man, don't be going around with a fucking erection all the time. Take care of it. You know? You freaking twist your head, man, when you get super horny. I don't know if you've ever tried no fap for an extended period of time, but like, freaking drive you nuts. It's like, it's the most productive I've ever been, is what the red pill guy says. It's like, I'm no fucking wonder. I'm not surprised you're incredibly productive. You know, that's what I say to them. It's like you're jacking off to somebody else having sex. That's not good for you.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't masturbate. That's almost necessary for society to function. That you don't have all the men super horny like all the time. You know, it's bad enough when as it is. And yeah, I don't know. And then I let them deal with it. I mean, they have to. You just put the idea in their head. I mean, you can't. What am I going to do? Tell them disconnect the internet? You just give them good ideas. Give them very clear instructions. Don't do this. Do that. Yeah. You'll feel better if you do them. You'll feel like shit, or continue to feel like shit if you carry on. Same with computer games. It was like, do you ever play computer games till stupid o'clock in the morning? And then feel like shit about it. Yeah. It's like you feel like shit for a reason. You're cheating yourself. Nobody else is getting hurt in the process of this. That guilt isn't associated to what you've done to somebody else. It's what you've done to yourself. You know? robbing yourself of life. You're living in a hyper reality. You know, you're getting chemical stuff, hormones, makes you feel good, makes you feel something. You know, seems to make people angry, and they keep doing it, so they're at least feeling something. It's like pick a direction in the woods, keep walking, and then when you realize you're lost, that's a nice feeling. You know,
Yeah.
like feel something real. You know, get back to reality. And then when you get used to reality, let's talk about what's on the other side of reality.
Well, what's on the other side?
This really, really deep connection between people that can take place. You know, it's like the other, like, so in reality, the reality of porn is actually having sex with somebody in real life, in which case there will be no camera angle available to look at each other's genitals. So whilst you're actually having sex, you will not be looking at somebody's genitals. This is a hyper reality of looking at somebody's genitals whilst you're masturbating.
Yeah.
You know, right? So you've got the mechanical side of actually having sex with somebody, but you can buy that, right? The next level of the reality is the feeling you get around somebody actually wanting to have sex with you. It's like, Benjamin, you're
okay. No? We don't need to simulate that. This particular hyper reality. But yeah, I get your point.
And it doesn't matter where it comes from. You had the two men on in pink t-shirts there with bald heads that made me laugh, talking on a podcast, and they were flirting with each other, and they were flirting with you too. And I could see you. Boys. So it doesn't matter the source of it, right? There's a feeling there, right, that's not actually connected to sex, but comes from sex, right? Of somebody wanting to have sex with you. That you're, you know, if you put a lot of effort into it, and you've put a lot of hope into it, and you've made a lot of energy to try to convince this person over a period of time that you're worthy of having sex with, then there is this personal journey of that having been worth it and paid out, right? Then you get to the aspect of if you really care about each other and you see sex as something that you are doing together rather than sex being something that I do to you or you do to me, like fuck each other, which is a terrible way to say it, you know? And you start to embrace the idea that you're doing it together, and you start to think of it like a dance more than a do, and it's a flow, and it's understanding each other's bodily movements and breath and sounds, and you know, there's like the depth of that is amazing. You know, it's like I say to married men, have you ever tried starting foreplay at breakfast? You know, like not touching it, just so what you doing later after dinner? Here the kids are out. And then leave her thinking about that till lunchtime and make another subtle reference to it.
Yeah.
And it was like, all of that's available. I mean, that changes a person's day, you know? It's like, that's living. That's reality plus, you know? That's really feeling your way in life, you know? And allowing that to go. And like, you can say that at breakfast, and you have to know what the look on her face is. If the look on her face is, fuck off, you know, not today, or whatever, you have to, you know, okay, fuck it, I'll try again in 3 days, or whatever the scenario, you know. And you have to take the risk to be able to feel something. You have to put yourself at the risk of feeling something bad to be able to feel something really good, you know. And that's way better. That's way better. It's like, what are you doing? I look at the lads on the farm and this new group have all been sharing clips with me, and since I've been laid up, I've been watching tons of this red pill stuff, right? And like the shaved head doesn't help because they've been referred to as sounding a bit like your man Tate, right? Okay. And some of the things I say, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I've got a trad wife. If you come to my house for a visit, I will call into the house for sandwiches and tea will appear, right? All right. But like, if you were to call that submission, she'd smash a teacup into your ear. And,
Yeah.
that's not the way it goes. This is like completely not what, it's a mimicry. Right?
Okay.
This idea, like even in Muslim households, I've got some Muslim family and some Muslim friends. Right? The idea that the mother sits with her hijab on in the corner of the room and is not participating in the house is fucking hilarious, man. She'd fucking kill you if you disrespect her inside her own four walls. But when she's outside her four walls, she trusts her men to take care of the rest of the world. This is not the power dynamic that is understood in this transactional sense, that where sex is something people do to each other, and again, they're living in a hyper reality. What's the Bugatti shite all about? Like all these flashy status symbols, have loads and loads of money and have loads and loads of women. It's a hyper reality of what it is. It's like, the actual reality of that is sitting down after the show thinking something's missing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't connect to anybody. They used everybody. And like, people complain about porn and porn subscriptions and saying that this is exploiting women. It's like, it's the people paying for it that are being exploited just as much as the women. And there's fucking 10,000 men paying to every one woman performing. This is far more exploitative on young men by numbers, if not in extremity.
Because what are they selling while they're buying access to girls' nudes?
Yeah, so they're selling sex and they're selling fathers now in the red pill, right? Somebody that will give young men clear instructions, right? This is what you do. This is the result you get. But the result they're offering them is cash and bitches, right? It's like you're selling them the wrong thing.
Okay, so what does cash and bitches do? What's the good for that, and where on the reality level is that? Like,
that's somewhere close to hyper reality. So if they're doing it in person, it's just a step away from the hyper reality. They're not vicariously doing it through watching someone else on YouTube,
yeah,
and imagining themselves as that. They're if they actually manage to achieve it. So if somebody gets their social media rocking off and they get a bit of status, they'll attract women through the status. But the type of woman that's going to be attracted by that is a type of woman. Right, and if you've got a lot of money and you attract gold diggers, when the money's gone, they're gone.
If they were even really there, they're there
just present. You're having sex to them,
Yeah,
and they're being sexed on, and they're striking all the poses they see in the movies, fucking, the hyper reality is being able to talk to your wife across the room just by looking at her, and it's like, you don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing to know what it feels like to be understood, and to be accepted for who you are in your most natural state. And as much as you can, like, you live with somebody for 20 years, they fucking know you probably better than you know yourself, because how well you know yourself is based on your ability to spot your own patterns, and actually break that down and go, oh, Jesus, I am actually like that,
Yeah.
And like, there is no other way to approach a long-term relationship other than attempting to build that connection. Nothing else works. Nothing else seems to last the test of time. When old couples that have lasted 50 years together are interviewed, they're like laughing Buddhas, It's like, how did you do it? It's like, she's just lovely. They've got nothing to say about it. They didn't read a book, enact out a plan. They just felt their way forward through the world, and they created a bond with somebody as they went through life with them. And then that person understands them. They see you. The only person I really think sees me for who I am is my wife. Everybody else has a lens of some description, whereas she's seen all of it.
Well, what if you don't want to be seen?
Just understand that that's what you're sacrificing. It's a choice. If you don't want that depth, you like if you meet somebody else that really, really shows you who they are over time. I mean, you don't get to do this more than once. You get to pick one person because it takes so long. Anyway, it's not something you can really do. It's something that just happens. Because you have to actively try to meet people, and like it's probably better off having babies while you're still infatuated with each other. Commit while you're in good mood. But like, you just have to meet somebody that wants to have that level of connection. Like I know a couple that are quite separate, and it works for them because they seem comfortable with it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to have to think deep. She doesn't want to go deep.
Yeah.
They like each other. They're fun. They like doing stuff together. When I speak to him in depth, he's never thought about any of it. Mild curiosity,
Takes all types, right?
Takes all types.
So that's regarding husbandhood.
Mm-hmm.
What about fatherhood? What are some of the things that you've had to learn, or some of the, if we go back to, I like this, we're talking about the hyper reality and the uber reality, or the real reality. Like, how do you navigate that with a child who's growing, who's part of you, who's not part of you, who's different and the same?
And I've always found it easier to forgive myself for being wrong than for not trying, So, like, it's very hard to talk about other parents because you're dealing with personalities as well. So each child has their own personality, and that needs to be managed, right? So what is the basic things? It's really simple. It's farmer logic. Does the grass grow? If you do it and the grass grows better, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, It's not this concept stuff that lives in the abstract, which is what I'm very critical of in your main interest, which is that the gender ideology world, which I can at least see from your channel, is they're all dealing with ideas that you don't get to test. And now they're testing the ideas. Fucking scary shit, man. Like, I don't pray, but I do think about these people intently, and I wish them all the best, because now they're testing out these grand ideas of are men and women interchangeable, and right? The grass doesn't appear to be growing very well.
Well, I mean, in the right lighting, and with enough plastic applied to the right places and the shaving of the grass in certain ways, it can kind of appear like grass in certain lighting, is what I'm saying.
Okay. I don't know. That's beyond my area of expertise. I can't comment on any of that. I wish everybody the best. I hope, but for parenting, right, so what's your kid going to need? They're going to need to be able to push themselves to do hard things that they don't want to do, that's going to get them results that they want. So practice, something age appropriate. When they don't want to do it anymore, dangle what they want and make them push forward. Get them, once they get used to it and practice at it, they're better. So they're going to need that, right? Yeah. They're going to need a balance between being humble and being confident. So knowing that they're going to be shit at stuff the first time they try it, but not have that put them off. Practice. Actually thinking about it, finding ways to fit it in to their life that you're doing it, right? They're going to need to know about things in theory, and you're going to have to show them things about the adult world before they encounter them on their own. Right? The famous Irish one is, and you can see it in weekends all over the country, is dads parading their teenage kids around all the drunk people puking and fighting and at night time at 3:00 in the morning. This is what it actually looks like. It's not very good, like, you know. These are all the people that are making a mistake with alcohol. And, you know, when you're the one in it, you don't realize what it looks like from the outside. And what it looks like from the outside is closer to what it is really, you know, which is people making a mess, you know, not handling themselves, you know, expressing all of their frustrations from their week to week life into whatever is happening right now, you know. But that as an idea, just, you know, showing children the adult world in a controlled way and pointing to it before they encounter it themselves, you know, and keep them off social media, for fuck's sake. Like,
limit their access to hyper reality. Is that what you mean?
Yes. And when you do, explain that it is hyper reality, you know. I do it with my kids, kind of a thing about spot the advertisement, you know. And then the older ones, I'm starting to get into what's the idea behind the film? What is it trying to tell you is right? What is it trying to tell you is wrong in a moral sense? And do you agree? You know, do you agree? Just get them used to thinking about stuff in that terms. You know, don't believe what they're telling you. You know, connect it back to money. If somebody's making money somewhere in it, you're not spending money. You're the product, right? If you're participating without buying, you're the product that's being sold, and you don't know it, right? If you are paying, you're the simp, right? So if you're spending whatever a month on Hustlers University or whatever his, or whatever, even if you're buying fucking Rollo Tomasi's book on the red pill, you're the simp, right? To a man this time. You're a simp for a dad instead of a simp for an ass or an emotional connection with a good-looking woman, right? Same shit, in my opinion, right? Because they're complaining about women, they're blaming it all on women, but the answer is they need to turn the men back towards seeking human connection with other men and with women at a proper level, right? And then it all falls into place. That's when you actually get your trad wife that they're all talking about, right? And it's like, get over the idea of having a virgin as a bride, which is what they've all prized themselves on now. And it was like, because you're unworthy of one, right? If I was going to go through the effort of producing a daughter that's still a virgin at 18 and hand her off to a man and convince her to be a good husband and that's how she should live her life, the fuck am I handing her over to you? Where's fucking Prince Mohammed of Sheikh fucking land? He can have her. And not you dick. You know, it's like, you're down here with me, right? And we've got our women for you to choose from, right? And do you know what? They're a fussy bunch, so you better be good enough. It's just mad fucking ideas coming out of that red pill shite, and all it is selling daddies to boys, do you know? Because their father didn't fucking tell them how to live, or at least train them in any specific way, you know. And they're just dying for instruction. They know it's all wrong and they don't know what to do about it. And it's like that. They know that what they want is a trad wife, which is what they call it, right? A trad wife isn't a woman that fucking does what you say, does what you tell them to do, you know? I don't walk in and shout into the house and ask for sandwiches, like, and she does it because she thinks that that's what she's supposed to do. It's like, my money is her money. Like, she spends all my money. You know, if I bring people in for work and I ask for sandwiches, she brings the sandwiches because that's like money. What am I going to do? What is she going to do? Talk to them about the farm and I fucking get the sandwiches. It's just division of labor. Yeah. Right? And it's not, it's like, like, yeah, she's got my car at the moment because her one's broken. She didn't even ask. She just like told me, you know. And it's this dance, and like she didn't come out of the box like that. She wasn't like that when I met her. I mean, she's a highly skilled trade woman of her own. She didn't need me for money. What she wanted was a father to her children. That was what she was picking me based on. And like, yeah, she didn't have access to rich men, so she's picked a good runner, a good outside chance, somebody with a bit of potential who was talking sense to her in her head, you know. And like, this isn't like, I mean, even in my parenting, like, and how I parent the kids, like, I discuss it heavily, and I've been talked back from being overly macho with my kids and made understand that I'm looking at the world in a very physical way, you know. And that, like, not all of the kids are like that, and it's not going to work. And so I've had to bake it back to principles and try to apply the principles to each of the kids and see if I can get that out of it. And it all comes back to equipping them with general skills for whatever they're going to come across in their life. And that is psychological, you know. I get a lot of heat for telling my kids, don't eat shit food or you'll be fat, and people will laugh at you because you're fucking weak. You know, you didn't even have the self-discipline not to stick a fucking donut in your mouth. Who's gonna trust you with something important if you can't even be trusted with fucking walking past the sweet shop? And like, you can't say that. Yes, I fucking can. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's what's going on in other people's heads. You know, telling the little fat kids that everyone's gonna fucking, oh, you're pretty and you're lovely and don't you worry about that, and they're just jealous. No. That's not true, you know. Like, fucking, you know, if somebody needs to, like, if my wife thinks that I'm overdoing it and I'm saying it in a way that's not made for their ears, she just says it to them in whatever way she wants to say it to them.
Yeah.
And then they hear it in the hot and they hear it in the cold, and then they can make their own terms out of it, you know. But it works, you know. I have been successful in having, like, all of my kids understanding food and their body and exercise and what this means, and that, like, their ability to access what's available in life is contingent on them being able to make themselves do shit they don't want to fucking do so that they can get what they want. Right? And that seems to be a core skill that's missing, you know. And it's like, there's nobody to complain to. They don't come to me to complain. It's like, they come to me and tell me, this is what I want. I can't get it. How do I get it? And then we work out, okay, Jesus, there might be 5 years of between you and having it, but if you want it, that's where it is, you know. And it's a more honest approach. I'm not telling them that God wants them to, you know. I'm not telling them that, like, as I say, yeah, she's the religious version of it is all threats and promises to do with the afterlife and somebody watching over you and everything. It's like, nah, I just explain it to them in terms of what they want out of life and that they can have it, you know. But that the pathway there is not fun. But then, do you know what? Not going anywhere is not fun either. Do you know? And look at the people around you for evidence that this is true, you know. So, and I can't tell that story.
Yeah,
there's too many people involved.
Good catch there. So when going back to the man and the tree and the axes and the like, when a man whose early life was like you say, the source of love is the same source as pain and fear, and then he goes out in the world and probably projects that onto the world and comes to a point where he's broken down and he changes. Like, what's the process of that man confronting his own actions, like his own wrongdoings, and then also getting back to his parents? Like, how do you be a son, right? So we talked about fatherhood, we talked about husbandry. Like, how do you be a son? How do you kind of close that loop?
Right. So yeah. How to be a son? You have to bury your father and take over. whether that's metaphorical or whether that's actually physical. At some point, you're going to have to bury your father and take over, you know? So if you don't, I mean, a lot of men don't have fathers, right, to speak of, or maybe the idea, maybe they've already buried their father when they were like 20 because he was never there and they just fucking got over the fact he wasn't there, progressed with their life. Anyway, like if you do have a father, like you have to like understand him, right? Free of judgment, whether or not that's what you would do, or whether you think it's right or think it's wrong. Try to wrap your head around what he was doing and why he was doing it, right? And the chances are you will find that the things he did that you might have a problem with came from a place of personal weakness in him, right? And the things that he did that you did like were when he got it right and connected to you as a person, right, in some form or fashion. And when you start to then unsuperhero your dad, right, as a kid
or villain,
right, yeah, okay, all right. Even if right, so if your father is a villain and you're unpicking that, right, that's slightly different. I'm talking about it in the terms of where there's good and bad. And quite often the conflict in a son to father understanding is that it's confusing that the good comes with the bad from the same person, right? And that's easier to understand as the bad being the weakness of the man and his failings, and the goodness being when he got it right. And that if you can understand over your own life, you can do it right and you're going to do it wrong. And that it's incredibly difficult to continually do it right all day, every day. Right? So you have to allow the same grace to your father to be as wrong as you were, and understand that he was working with less tools than you have. Right? The modern world provides us with a lot of information that he didn't have. Right? So he had his environment to learn from, his personality, his own upbringing that made him the way he was, without any Freudian understanding in society for him to reflect on it. You're in a different predicament now. If you can understand how your father was your father, good or bad, you can free yourself of it. Right? Begin to free yourself of it. Right? Begin to understand why the bad things happen to you, if bad things happen to you at the hands of your father, in one form or another. Right? But you can't look at it in a moral term. Right? You just have to look at it at how he was, the way he was. And then understand that you are the way you are for the same reasons he is the way he is, just with different details. Right? And so now we've established how you are as you are, you're ready to take over. Right? Take over your own life, take control of, okay, I'm a little bit like this because he did this, or he like that. Right? And this is connecting your own things in your life that you're not happy about to things in your, to that, but blamelessly, because you understand your father is the way he was because his father was the way he was. And he didn't even have access to information to try to make change. If he had a strong compass in his life and tried to change, that was a rare person. Many people didn't do that, and had no way to do that and had no inspiration to do that. And if you grew up under Christendom, they were told just fucking get on your knees and shut up. Go to work, shut up. All right? Pray if you've got a problem. If they were taught philosophy, it was about the philosophy of how to tolerate suffering. Jesus got nailed to a fucking cross. Stop complaining. Right. So if your father is the supervillain, right, and it was just your life was just a case of you to get away from him, right, and that there was no good in it, and that this was the markings at the beginning of your life, right, plant a flag into the future and say that you're going to change that, you know, that he is the way he is because of whatever. Maybe you don't know, right? But there's parts of you that are a certain way because of the effect of him. And then you've got your personality on top of it. Like, you are malleable. You get to actively change, right? So if you've an anxiety about something, say fucking, I don't know, you can't get into cars because every time you got into a car, you got hit or something, right? Like, you can understand there's an irrationality to that, and that this is a memory and an effect or a trauma, or if you want to call it that. And that it doesn't comport onto reality. So you can take yourself from the other side of reality, the feeling side of reality, back to reality, you know. And if you like, just recognizing the connections between things and taking the blame away. It's not your father's fault, really, the way he was. Like, it was his fault for his actions. You know, I mean, choosing to do the things he had a choice in, you know, is blame. But being the person that made that choice isn't necessarily his fault, if you know what I mean. You know, none of us get to choose how we are. We only get to choose what we do. You know, nobody chooses the thoughts that arise, the ideas you get. You know, like, but you do get to choose what you do. And if you can separate the idea of the personhood, you know, of your father, like, I mean, I was. These are very difficult things to say because I explored it in my own life, and by the time I buried my father long before I actually buried my father, and got over it, and I got an opportunity to have a relationship with him as an adult, right, on an equal footing, rather than him being over me in any sense, you know. And I got to understand him a little bit better, and he changed a lot as he got older, anyway. You know, and you know, and I had an awful lot of feelings to do with that. There's a lot of people that met him much later in life didn't know what he was like when he was younger, and had a very unusual. They only knew him as the way he was. You know, they didn't know him from before, and he's changed. And I found that very difficult because how I saw him was all of my life combined into one thing. You know, but like, once I understood it, right, it became easier to get past. Okay, he was a fucking brute, but because he was weak, he was a brute. It was all of his weakness that hurt me. You know, it was when he couldn't control himself, and when he was looking for the victim, and that was all hurt. Like, you know, and like, but then there was a lot of good in what he did, and I was able to reconcile all of that into humans are flawed, right? How somebody does that when there's no good to pull on. Like, you know, maybe you've got to bury him and dance on the grave and return once a year to piss on it, you know. But you have to free yourself and understand it, you know. Like, if you achieve it, pass it on, you know. Find somebody that has a father similar to yours and say to them, you know, my dad was like your dad, you know. And I don't know how somebody else opens themselves to somebody else in a way that's necessary for, you know, people have to work that out. I can only say it as to how I'm doing it, because nobody's written a book for this. One of the problems with the older men that I've been dealing with that were giving me a hard time, I won them over, by the way, you know, I've got them all back on track. Right. And I reckon I'm going to get a chorus of problems from the grandmothers soon. You know, and it was like, you know, tell her shut up and see how it feels. It's not that bad, you know. But anyway, like, that's a different topic, you know. But like, talking to them, it's like their fathers never trained them in anything either. So it's like, okay, if you were never trained in anything, and then you didn't train your son in anything, then you don't know fucking anything about training people, right? It's like, I don't like the idea of training my son. He needs me to love him and understand that life isn't a competition. And it was like, no, fucking life is a competition. Do you know what? Your son's going to go out there and someone's going to fucking crush him and he's not going to be able for it, right? it's like, how do I connect to these people? So the problem actually comes with the grandparents. This is what I said. They haven't. They've been guided through their life, so they haven't really taken control. The grandfathers have very much allowed their wives to run the show. They haven't deliberately trained their kids. They've been a second mother instead of a father. And now they're all realizing the gravity of the situation that their sons have children. The worst scenario out of the lot is a fella that got a girl pregnant. She doesn't even want his name on the birth certificate. She just wants the government check. And the parents seem to be kind of supportive of it, you know? And it's like, that's your fucking grandkids. What was the point? What was the point in your own life if you're going to allow your son to walk away on his grandkids? What are you doing? What the fuck are we all here for? Where's the connection? This is your family. You're supposed to connect to people. These are people that you're actually connected to when you're born. You know, you give birth to these people. You know, like, evolution frowns upon you. That is shameful. 4.5 billion years of people getting it right, and you fuck it up in the land of milk and honey because you can't handle fucking luxury or whatever. You know, I don't know how to describe it. Can't handle this hyper reality. You know, there's no challenge to keeping a child alive till they're 18, and then they're just feeding them into the fucking machine. You know, and it's like, that's one thing that comes out of the red pill community that they get right, which is they call it the Matrix, which is stupid and cheesy because of the film. But they are correct. There is a matrix there. And the kids are being fucking fed into it, you know? And I can only see it through my 2 farmer eyes and look for where I see a problem. And I can only see a problem through my own eyes. And I see a big problem with the dads, you know? And it's not just the dads, it's their dads. And like all the granddads, they're lucky they're dead because I'd be shaming them too, you know? You know? And like this is it with the wife. You don't tell your wife what to do. You march in a direction that pulls your family forward, and they realize it's the right way to go, you know? And you think about everybody and you try to understand and connect to the people in your life. And when you connect with them, you can feel them and things make better sense. And then when you rationalize your behavior after you emotionally react to the world, your rationalization makes fucking sense, you know? It's like, if you're not thinking about it and you're not connected with people, and then your instincts set you off and you're defending your ego, or you're trying to be right, then your rationalization of what you did afterwards when you try to explain it, like, is just a bunch of lies trying to hide the fact that what you really want is to be the best, or fucking whatever shit's going on in your head today. You know, and then you think you made sense because the sentences were coherent. It's like, you know, it's just not true. It's just not true. Whereas, like, if you actually, you know, try to be a husband and try to be a father and stop all the other shit, right? Stop thinking that the point of the day is to get past dinner so you can sit down and play PlayStation or whatever the fuck. It's like, stop seeking hyper reality, you know? It's like, fix your reality. If you don't want to be in it, fix it so that you do want to be in it. You know, you're like, go outside when it's raining and it's windy and take your fucking shirt off and feel the fucking world. Feel it. You know, it's there. You know, if you're in the supermarket or you're somewhere and you lock eyes with a stranger, smile at them. See what they do. It doesn't matter what they do. You just connected with them in the tiniest way, and you will feel something because you're doing what you're supposed to do. You know, and that's what's missing from the idea of leadership and fatherhood and submissive wives and the patriarchy. You know, like, why do the women go so masculine and, you know, they want to be in charge or whatever? It's like, you know, my wife does feel like she's in charge, you know? If the, like, in her life story, she's the matriarch and I'm fucking I'm the foot soldier, you know? Like, I wonder how many of my brothers feel like they're the patriarch leading the thing, but they just have to listen to me and my mad rants, you know, before they make a decision. And it's like that, you know, and then like my children then will go on and ultimately become the grandparent in their own thing, which is loosely connected. Some of them might not want to remain part of this particular grouping or make their own grouping, and it splinters. Like this idea of a family line doesn't exist, you know. There isn't a lineage. It's just like I'm the center point of my little funnel, and loads of people are center points in their little funnels, and they all disperse. And it's only my adventure. It's only my family tree. I can track back and track forward. To everybody else, it's their own version of it, and it includes people that aren't me. Maybe I'm not as important in other people's lives as I perhaps think I am.
Way back at the beginning, you said something about kind of letting go or stepping away from what you're doing with the ex-cons. And you said something about you can't connect with them or something. There's a disconnect. Maybe you're just done, but what is it that you're seeing that... What were you saying when you were saying you can't connect with them? Something with social media. Like, what is the change in the way that they view the world that makes you not be able to work with them?
So they're all connected on social media, and they're consuming a lot of red pill content.
Okay.
Right. And the way
you can't compete with that, or
I have to go off and understand what they're saying better, because they're right too often. You know, I'm selling them on a romanticized idea of connecting with people, and they're like, bullshit. You know, that only works if other people want to connect, and if nobody else wants to connect, then what's the fucking point? You know? They've presented me with the challenge to untangle and demystify the red pill and turn it back into something that actually provides them with instructions at work. So they're being told, go out and get the bag, you know, make money. It's like, I can't say that that's wrong. That works, you know. You do need money. You probably need more money than you think you do. So go get some. You know, there's loads of paths to that, you know. Work harder, get skilled up, change to something more profitable. You know, if you're going to have a family and kids, you're going to need plenty of money, so do it. Okay, so get physically fit. Great, lovely. That's never going to hurt you. You know, I would say that all this posing in the mirror shit down in the gym is a hyper reality, and what they're mimicking, the reality they're looking for is actually just physical prowess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I would suggest that I would say it's better for them to learn parkour, do calisthenics, do rock climbing, you know, like speed climbing, ninja obstacle course type stuff. Yeah. These are men that are in their peak. That's peak body, right? Not this big fucking tits shit, right? No wonder they're all crying at night when they're posing in front of the mirror. Fucking, I have all the love in the world for the men in the short shorts, right? But if the gayest shit I ever fucking seen is down in the gym, right? If you ever go into a locker room and you see a guy rubbing fake tan on another guy, it's like, just say you love each other and get it over with, you know? Like, haram.
Yeah, well, and why? Because it's worshiping an ideal, and that ideal is basically useless and accomplishing anything other than presenting and manifesting an ideal, like some sort of idea of
just like porn is the hyper reality of making love with someone, right? And just how our sexual instincts direct us, and that's a good fool. You know, that fools people. There's porn, right? But it fools our instincts. Our instincts are drawn towards reproduction, not sex. Sex is one step before reproduction. So, like, just like that hyperreality, it's like the ability to have physical endurance and be highly physically competent and get your body to do whatever you want it to do, to wield any tool, paddle a boat, climb a tree, really use your body, right? That is mimicked in the gym, right? And what they think, they look at the guy that can do anything physically, and they see big biceps, and so they're like, I'm going to have the biggest biceps in the world. What are you doing? You can't even tie your own shoes. Yes, but I can lift 500 units of strength. He was like, yeah, but stairs are a problem. You fucking idiot. You know? And then they think that women find this attractive, and it was like, do you know what? I'd be shocked that there is actually a large market of women that would be impressed by a man that stands in front of a mirror for any significant period of time. You know, that was one of the criticisms I got for the last time we were on, was that I didn't even tidy my beard up, and this time I was made go tidy it up. I was like, we're here talking about soul food, man. We're not fucking looking at each other thinking we're beautiful. Who gives a fuck? Do you know? I'm always like, no, people give a fuck. I give a fuck. Brush your fucking beard or something.
You're representing the family, even if you can't talk about them.
Yeah. And I promised I would tidy myself up.
So it's not about you. It's about her. Like it's your reflection. Your reflection is bouncing off of onto her.
Correct.
Yeah.
I affect her status. Her status is important.
Yeah.
How I look is part of that, whether I like it or not. You know.
Yeah.
That's what gives me the right to ask for sandwiches. Do you know, knowing which battle to fight, and accepting she's probably right. Do you know, she's probably true that if I'm more groomed, my message probably carries better. So. You hear the bang. The rebellion has begun.
Okay. Well, that's probably pretty late, and she wants a bedtime story. You guys do limericks late into the night on, I guess it's Saturday. Is that how you put her to bed? Is there like a special ritual?
Yes, I have a good night ritual. Yeah. I read them stories, then I give them a half an hour to dick about, because they're going to dick about anyway. And then I'd sing to them, the younger ones. Yeah. Although it's probably going to be my last year for requests for singing, I'd say.
Yeah. What are these, like shanties?
No, lullabies that I've just completely made up. They're just
really?
Melodic sounds, yeah.
Huh. With words and
I won't sing them to you.
Oh, no, either. They're just things that you've developed over the years, being a dad.
Yeah, I used to, when they were babies, I used to mimic the motion of the mother's hips by kind of doing a figure eight, or walking myself and holding them to my belly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I used to just kind of create a rhythm and keep it down low in my chest so that they're feeling it from my body as they're hearing it. And as long as it's melodic enough, it works, you know. And now it's like it helps them sleep. I said, well, I don't know if it helps them sleep. She's probably just time wasting. You know? She's also very highly social and curious, so the idea that she can't come over and be involved and ask you who you are and show you what she's interested in, that's and if the way that I speak to her sounds strict, it's just I couldn't do that with one of the other ones. I have to speak completely different, you know. And it just wouldn't work. Speaking like that would only bring her closer rather than, you know. That one needs to be told exactly how it is. Otherwise, it doesn't go through, you know. And she feels much safer as a result of it, you know. And like I explained clearly that I need peace and time and quiet to speak to my friend. And it's going to be a video call, and please don't disturb me if you need anything. You can sort yourself out. You know where everything is, right? No. And she's that's just the way she is. Like, I wouldn't crush that in her, you know? Like, I can't punish her for interrupting. That's just who she is, like, you know? But equally speaking, I have to reassert what I've already told her and say, hey, look, I asked for peace. You're not giving me peace. Off you go, back to bed, past bedtime anyway. Saturday night, you're being allowed to stay up, whereas at school night, it's a bedtime. And at the weekend, then they get to make their own choices. And if they stay up really late in the morning, I laugh at them for being tired and I try to connect. Now you're really tired and you feel like crap because of last night you stayed up too late. You know? Just keep connecting the dots to them. Be more, yeah. There's a small bit of lack of honesty in parenting sometimes, and people not connecting the dots like that, and it can be a problem when the kids realize you lie to them to keep them safe. You know, then they don't trust anything you've said. So you can tell them what you want after that, and there's always this hint of suspicion that you're full of shit. You know.
Wait, are you advocating absolute honesty? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you have to communicate to them in a way that's appropriate. So, like, I mean, obviously, I'm just trying to think of something. Seatbelts in the car, right? You have to put your seatbelt on and keep it on when the car is moving, because otherwise you're going to fly around the car, and you're not just going to hurt yourself; you're going to hurt me. You know. People die in car crashes from heads banging together just as often as they do from flying out of the car. So that's why you have to wear your seatbelt. Not you have to do it because I said you have to do it.
Yeah.
You know? Or the rules are we wear seatbelts. Right? And if you have to pick a safe point to slam the brakes on the car and let the kids fly, you demonstrate. You know, then
nobody would ever accuse you of not toughening kids up, or anybody for that matter, going too soft on it. Yeah.
No, none of them have been damaged. So yeah, it's all appropriate. And, you know, I don't hit the kids, and they don't see anger from me, especially not pointed at them. You know, I wouldn't let the younger ones see me be angry with anybody. You know, and then as they're older, as they hit teens, it's time, you know, there's a time where it's appropriate that they see that I am human, you know, and I can get indignant, and I'm a moody bastard, you know, and once they're about over 7 or 8 years old, they're ready to start revealing the world to them little by little, and revealing myself to them little by little. You know, it's very important that young girls realize how strong men are in comparison to them. So there becomes a point where, like, with the oldest one, I think I smashed a wooden deck chair. We're having a conversation where the point I was trying to deliver was she doesn't realize how much stronger guys are than she is. You know, and she was like, you know, and I was failing to get it through, and so it was rather dramatic. But I just jumped up and I burst the chair I was sitting on off the floor.
Well, like with a karate chop, or
no, I just picked it up and smashed it off the floor as hard as I could. You know, and I gave it some welly. I really fucking I hoped bits went everywhere. And she was like, I'm like, right, exactly. You know. Don't engage physically with men at all under any circumstances, and understand that men hold back because they understand. You know, don't be one of these girls on the viral video that fucking slaps a fella and then gets sent into fucking next week and probably needs reconstruction on her teeth or some shit. You know, she did it, so you don't have to. Learn the lesson. You know. And then I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for the show. You know, they know that they can wind me up by disagreeing with me and pushing me to prove a point. You know, and then Dad will go do something fucking mad to prove his point. It's just being real and being a person. I don't want to be a superhero to them, like when they're an adult. Like they have to know I'm a flawed person doing his best, and that their job is to do better than me. And that, like, you tell your sons, I'm going to make you better than me, and then don't be disappointed if you do that, if they are better than you, and if one day they turn around and give you a moral lesson that you hadn't thought of, or turn around and judge you and say, actually, you were wrong, very wrong, and you haven't apologized, or, and if you're doing your job, they will, you have to make them better than you are. I give a small bit of advice that's almost clip-worthy to a new father. His baby was only born a few weeks ago, and I don't really know him very well. I'd met him maybe twice, and he was on the edge of where I was operating, and he just returned to work for after the baby being born, and all the people in his workplace, the older women had organized like a baby basket of shit they bought for him, for the baby, and they were all cooing over him, telling him how fantastic a dad he's going to be because he's such a great guy. And so when I was smoking with him outside and caught him on his own, I said to him, don't believe the women. They're blowing shit up your fucking arse, blowing smoke up your arse, sorry. Because they sense how stressed you are, and they want you to feel better because you're in their company now. They want you in a better mood, right? And they don't want you to be afraid of the shit to come. The truth of the matter is, you're not good enough. Nobody is when their first kid is born. You have to be the best version of yourself, and you got to get there as fast as you can. Quit the shit. Your wife needs you now in a way that she hasn't needed you before. If she's mothered you in your relationship so far, she's going to stop mothering you now. So, like, don't ask for it off her. If you come to her looking for emotional support while she's dealing with an infant, she's going to resent you. So fucking stop it, right? Man up. No more mumminess coming from your wife. You're the man now. She's incredibly vulnerable. Pick up the fucking pace. Be a better man. Make better choices. You're not fucking good enough. And that lot in there don't care. They just want you to be in a good mood when you're with them. Right? He didn't respond, really. He just fucking let it in. A couple of days later, he came wanting to talk soccer with me.
Yeah.
And so saying it like that worked. And I said it to a guy that's practically a stranger. And nobody's saying that to him, but it's truer than what anybody else is saying to him. You said you work on a school bus with kids, driving a bus. I bet you can pick out the ones whose parents are trying and the ones whose aren't. I bet you can think of one or two kids and you're like, Jesus, these kids seem to understand what's happening on the bus and handling it very well. And then you get other kids, it's like, oh my God, who just let you out of the fucking box?
Are you thinking about doing anything other than just Twittering?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I've got the stuff on my farm slightly changing direction because the market has changed with COVID, so I'm kind of doing slightly different produce, and that's all exciting. I'm stepping out into the world of other people that's not fucking nutters like me and seeing if there's anything to be done there. I spotted a gap with fathering and fathers, and I've just marched in and said, what the fuck are you lot all fucking doing? Like, you haven't even made any fucking effort. So what if he's fucking alive? Not good enough, gentlemen. We have work to do. I'll take it from there. So far, it's been well received for the most part. The aggro is expected.
Yeah.
It's like it makes them think about it. So if they're going to at least phrase objections to what I'm saying, they're thinking about what I have said. So they have to think carefully about how they want to phrase why I'm wrong. Great. That'll do. That's a good place to start. We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage people, because I was making the decision while I tried to do a YouTube channel and reach out into where you could reach thousands of people, and I realized that, I don't know. I guessed that I can have more of an impact with a smaller group of people and actually get something done, whereas spitting shit into the void, I don't know. I'm never going to have conversations like you're having conversations when it comes to parenting, right? Where you're unraveling something going on in the gender world. You're on the frontier of what people are doing with the piece that's been created, right? And identifying mistakes and brand new stuff, right? All I can do is tell people to try hard, unless they want to tell me specifically what the problem is.
Yeah.
What? No, think about it. Fucking try. Stop entertaining yourselves. Life is serious. This is life or death. There's only a one-way track for time. You don't get to do today again. Make it fucking count. What are you all doing? You're playing, right? You're fucking around. we could already be on Mars and mining the asteroids if you lot would stop fucking wanking and playing video games. Right? We've got a problem with plastic in the ocean. What a stupid fucking problem is that? The least famous guy in the world, who should be the most famous guy, is that fucking Zlatan Blatt. Zlatan Blatt is his name. I can't pronounce his name. I haven't heard anybody else say it. I've only read his name. He's out there cleaning up the plastic on his own. Right? He's built a big ship that's scooping it all up, and he's found a way to process it, and he's out there solving the world's plastic problem. Everybody else wants to talk about fucking Kanye West losing his mind, and what a spectacle that is. We're looking at some fucking dork over in Romania pimping out a load of girls who was driving Bugattis. It's
Yeah.
The fuck are the rest of you doing? I'm out in the woods fucking killing myself trying to get to the one guy.
Well, literally, you just, you need to find your limits.
Yeah, well, this is it. I don't know. These aren't concrete decisions that I've made. I'm feeling my way forwards.
Yeah, I know.
I'll leave you on this note, on this one. I will actually let you go this time. Right? It's all about this middle-aged man shit, right? Yeah. Last April, I actually went on holidays, which was the summoning of the original crew. So guys that I hung around with when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and we fucked shit up. So we got in a lot of trouble together, resulting in a lot of us going to jail. One of them is having a midlife crisis, serious midlife crisis, big mental health issue arising from this. And I don't think there's a name for that yet, or whatever, or maybe it's loads of things put together, right? And we went, and the figurehead that keeps in contact with everybody, there's one guy, and he turned to Orthodox Christianity as his way forward, and he keeps in contact with everybody. He summoned everyone and said, we've got to go to Amsterdam for a weekend to find out what's wrong with him. Right? He needs us all. He needs the boys back together again. He feels lost. I came away from that feeling like I wasn't safe from that type of midlife crisis he was having. Right? I can't really say exactly what it is. It'd be too rude. Right? But we all got back together again. We bonded again, went a bit mad for a weekend, then went back to our own lives. I've recently found that midlife crisis is happening in many forms, and that this Christmas I was due to get mine with hurting my knee and having to accept that I'm no longer in my physical prime, and I need to find another way to do it now. And it was just a rather fatalistic premonition, just when you think you're safe, looking at somebody else's midlife crisis and going, I'm lucky I avoided that. I must have done something right. You know, I'm more well put together than him, and I've made better choices, and so therefore I haven't had that problem. And yes, life turned around and said, "Ha, motherfucker! Here, take some ripped tendons and see how you do with that." Yeah, take away the one thing that you could give someone, and one way that I could reach out to somebody that I felt was other people couldn't, and I had that taken away from me, and now I have to deal with it. There's your midlife crisis. There's your challenge. Are you up for it? You know?
Are you almost through with
for
that
me.
with rehab and stuff?
Yeah, it's just a case now. Don't fuck it up. You know,
Yeah.
keep it straight. Don't be silly. Don't go jumping over fences.
Yeah.
Not my strong point.
Yeah. I don't see you being able to obey
and
that for.
I try my hardest to embrace it for the challenge that it is, and understand that not everything can be just broken. Yep. We're finishing now. I'll be with you.
I know who the boss was in that interaction.
Yes, the real boss.
Yes.
As I say.
Yes. I could see the look in your eye.
She rolling her eyes at me. What are you saying about me?
You did well. You did well.
Yeah, I think this one might be better in clips than in.
No, don't bring that up. I'll have to sit on that. Let me end the recording by thanking you for joining me and telling me about what your work is doing and sharing the wisdom that you've gained over the years.
You're more than welcome, and I hope it's more than just entertainment, and that somebody more worthy than me can turn that into something for other people. You know,
you never know.
Get back onto conceptual James and say, "Hey, look at this madman! Can you turn that into commonly understood psychological language?"
It's farmer logic. It's actually very relatable.
Yeah. You thinky people all come up with these ideas that you can't test. You know?
People.
Yeah,
That's true.
That's what I. That was one of my better tweets. Was that with the gender ideology is you've clevered your way into the problem. Maybe clevering your way out isn't going to work. Maybe you have to dumb your way out of it and go. Maybe there's things you can think of in the abstract that just don't comport onto reality in any useful way. And just scratch it. Find another way to solve the problem. Except that it's been tried that way. It hasn't been successful. Maybe we should try a different way.
Yeah.